Dad left me our house when he died, but my mom kicked me out to live with her new family. 15 years later I tried to take my house back but they're threatening me, so I brought cops. I am 24 Let me start off by saying I was kicked out by my mom because she needed to impress her new husband. Okay, if kicked out seemed a little harsh, we can say, she moved me out of my own house and made me live with my grandparents, father's side. I have all the good memories until my dad was alive. Unfortunately, we lost him when I was 7. As a kid, I felt devastated. I was very close to my dad and sending him off inside a coffin broke my heart. I still remember that moment very clearly and it saddens me till date. While I was still processing the loss, my mom showed up with another man and insisted I call him dad. I was like, no way. I don't know if I was right or wrong but I just didn't feel right to call him dad just within a few months of my own father's demise. After that first meeting, I often found him in my mom's bedroom and it was difficult to see how quickly my mom had moved on. She didn't even wait for a year before bringing my dad's replacement to the house. I was not ready to accept him as my dad's replacement. I had recently turned 8 when they planned their beautiful wedding. They had put up a pretty huge wedding for second-timers. Anyways, none of my business. She left me with my grandparents as she went on her honeymoon. A month passed by but she didn't turn up. I kept asking my grandparents when would mom come to pick me up, but they didn't have any answer. Then suddenly she showed up one day. I was so excited to see her after so long. I rushed to hug her but she had brought all my belongings to dump me at my grandparents'. I was heartbroken, to say the least. I lived with my grandparents until my high school. I was happy with them. My mom used to show up sometimes only to tell me how much she loved me and cared for me. Sometimes I used to question her that if she loved me so much, why had she dumped me at my grandparents'? She had no answer. She would try to cover it up by saying, oh, your grandparents are turning old, they need a helping hand to run their groceries and dump out their trash. It was much later that she admitted the actual reason. She had given my room to her stepchildren. Bill, mom's husband, had 2 children who moved into our house with Bill after their wedding. My mom prioritized her new family over me. It was natural for me to get resentful of her. So eventually I stopped bothering her. After high school, I moved out from my grandparents but I still visit them often. They were kind of savior for me. They have raised me. If not for them, my childhood would have been ruined. Now, I'm 24. After working for a year in marketing, I thought of starting my own venture. I needed capital for that. So, I thought of leasing my house. Oh, if I didn't mention this before, there's a bummer on the way for my mom and her loving family. Actually, the house in which they are living belongs to me. Yeah, that's right. My dad made a will on his deathbed and he very meticulously gave me every penny he had, including the house. I was a kid when his lawyer read his will after his funeral but with the look on my mother's face, I can surely say that she was not liking it at all. Later, I got to know that she tried several times to overturn the will but she lost it every time. My dad had made the will very precisely that the house would be mine but I can sell/lease it only after I turn 21. Until then no one touches the property. My grandparents think that dad would have probably foreseen mom's plan and that's why he made a rigid will. Else she might have manipulated me in my childhood to give away the house to her. Last month, I called mom to inform her about my plan of leasing out the house but she didn't answer my calls. This week when I went to meet my grandparents I told them I was planning to make some extra bucks from the house. They gave a weird reaction. I asked them what's the matter. They said I might have to face a lot of resistance to vacate the house from mom because her stepdaughter is pregnant with a teenage boy who has run away from his responsibilities. Also, Bill has lost his full-time job and is working at a store in the evening. So, basically, they are in bad shape financially. Now I really don't know what to do. I mean I also need that house now. I have quit my job and I need capital to start my business. Update 1, it became quite dramatic. Picking up from where I left. Like I said, my grandparents informed me that mom and her family are going through a rough patch so they might not vacate my house. I thought I'll inform mom about my plan and give them a few months time to put their life together. Before that I was thinking of giving a month's notice but knowing their situation, I thought of giving 3 to 4 months. Since mom was not answering my call, I went to meet her at home. The house was nothing as before and neither was my mom. Both had a cold vibe. Maybe she had sensed the motive behind my visit. On seeing me at the door, she gave out a fake smile and half-hearted hug. Mind you, we were meeting after almost a decade. Yeah, she stopped visiting me after I entered my teenage years. Yeah, I had turned bitter towards her. Why would I not? Even though we met after so many years, she didn't bother to ask me how I had been. She was not interested in knowing anything about me. It was like, oh you're here. Must have been something important that brought you to my doors. The pleaser in me said, oh no, nothing important. Just came to check on you. It's been a long time. She smiled and said, sure it is. A wave of silence followed for another 5 minutes until I stood up to leave. It was definitely unpleasant. I didn't feel welcomed at all. Besides mom, my pregnant stepsister was also home and she too gave me a very bad look as if I was there to create some sort of trouble. For the moment, I dropped the idea of taking back the house. I explored other means of arranging the money for my business but mom crossed all limits of narcissism. Last week was my dad's 15th death anniversary. My grandparents held a small prayer ceremony at the church. Since I was in the town, I decided to have a decent ceremony by feeding the poor and giving off some gifts to the underprivileged children. I invited my friends and relatives for the prayer. I emailed the invite to mom as well but she didn't respond. When I traced the history of the mail, I found she hadn't opened it. This was my first mail to her. I thought it went to a spam folder or something so I showed up at her house again. This time mom wasn't at home. My stepsister Brenda answered the door. No hello, no greetings, a straight question slapped on my face. You're back again? What's the matter? I said I was there to meet mom. She said, with the way she spoke to you last time, do you think she wants to meet you again? She said it so bluntly that I couldn't get what she said and I spit it out that I was there to invite mom for the prayer ceremony of my dad. She chuckled in my face and said, that was like centuries ago, you're still holding that up, get over it. I said, excuse me, he was my dad and it's none of your business to comment. She rolled her eyes and pushed off to her room. I sat there like an idiot for a few more minutes and then I left a note for mom at the table. I asked her to call me back. She called me the next day and I told her about the prayer ceremony. She remained quiet for a minute and then said she would not be able to make it because she had to take her Brenda for a checkup. That was a bummer. I mean she could have said that she would try but turning it down outrightly was disappointing. I replied sarcastically, yeah, of course they are your priority. We are no one to you, so be it. Good luck raising that narcissistic woman and her bastard child. She flipped out that I used that word. I said why would I be nice to her when she was so mean to me? She made fun of my emotions. To defend her, mom said, it was natural for her to get furious. You can't talk about dad in front of a pregnant woman. You're such an insensitive dud like your father. The moment she said that, I lost my mind. I yelled at her that she should not talk trash about my father. If anyone who's insensitive here, it has to be her, the way she was talking about my dead father. She said, your father died 15 years ago, goddamn get over it. I said, sure, the way you did, within weeks or maybe days, who knows? You know what, you don't need to come. My father would not like your prayer after seeing your true colors. I hung up the phone saying this. The same day I hired a lawyer and started the process of sending a legal notice of eviction. The lawyer took some 15 days to validate my dad's will and send the notice to mom. As expected, when the eviction notice reached them, she freaked out. Apparently, she never thought I would go to such lengths to extract my revenge on her for not attending dad's prayer ceremony. I laughed at her voicemail and blocked her. When she couldn't contact me anywhere, she showed up at my grandparents' place. I wasn't there at that time. Oh yeah, I'm living with my grandparents again until I put my life together. My mother requests my grandparents to convince me to withdraw the eviction notice. My grandparents are calm and nice people, that's why they didn't throw her out. They said they don't have any say in this, it's my property and I get to do anything I want. Fair enough. The answer didn't go well to her and she blamed my grandparents for raising me as an entitled brat. Really? What was she smoking when she said that? I asked my grandma why she did not say anything to my narcissistic mom. Grandparents were like, we don't want to mess up with such a woman. I said I want to mess up and now I'm not gonna let them live in my house for one extra day. I gave the eviction notice as per the tenants law in the country, though they are not tenants. They ain't paying any rent to me. On top of that, I'm the one paying the property taxes every year. So legally, I'm entitled to throw them out right away. My grandparents are God-fearing people. They talked me out of this idea. They said for the sake of the Lord, give them that 1 month to find another shelter. There's a pregnant woman there and we shouldn't pull her into the streets. I sighed that she didn't need any help either. She was equally toxic. My grandparents were like, so be it, she might be a sinner, but her unborn is not. Don't be cruel to that little creature. They convinced me to wait, else I was adamant to evict them on that very day. The next day I got a call from mom. I ignored it. She did the same to me when I was calling her. She messaged me to talk, it's urgent. I responded to check out my calendar and meet me at grandparents at my open slot. This didn't go well with her. She sent a long reply that I was trying to throw weight on her. What did I do with her 5 paragraphs mail? Nothing. That's right. I didn't respond. She might have got the hint that I was not going to give in to her pressure. Throughout my childhood, whenever I used to cry or throw tantrums for going home, instead of loving me, she would scold me and ask me to behave. She would petrify me to be a good lad and not throw tantrums. This was her parenting style and it worked. In order to keep her happy and not mess up with her, I would stop sobbing. But after she left, I would sulk at the corner of the house for hours. Not anymore. It's time for her to sulk, but sadly she won't have a corner to herself. So she came to meet me and I deliberately made her wait for an hour. She got anxious. I asked my grandparents to stay out of it. She kept asking them about me. They said they don't know and swiftly pushed back to their room. When I arrived to meet her, she gave me a look of, where the hell were you? I have been waiting here for an hour, but she didn't say anything. She sat there with a straight face. People in her situation would have tried to please me but remained solid on her grounds. She said, okay, let me start. I can't sit here forever. I have jobs to do, I murmured under my breath. Oh sure, you do. Finding a house is a difficult job. She gave me an annoyed look and said, what is this notice about? I replied, it is written in English. I'm sure you can read that, or do you want me to do that for you? She was absolutely pissed off. She threw the notice at my face and said she was not going to vacate the house on the basis of some stupid notice. After she was done yelling, I said then let's wait and witness the repercussions of not following the court order. She was like, I gave birth to you, don't you try to outsmart me. That house is of my husband and no one can throw me out from there. I said, surely, a legal heir can. I was responding to her calmly in order to piss her off and she did get pissed off. But the moment she referred to my dad as her husband, I lost my mind. Really? You have the audacity to call him your husband when you skipped his prayer saying he was history. You don't deserve his house. You are just squatters and I'm gonna free that house from all leeches. She stood up and said she was done being nice to me and now I'll have to deal with her lawyer. I laughed and said sure, by all means. We still have 20 days to go. Let's see what next she pulls out from her sleeves.